Over the last 4 years, I've been able to help hundreds of Amazon sellers start and scale Amazon businesses, and the number one difference that separates people who are not doing well comparatively to those that are wildly successful comes down to this one single thing. Inside of this video, I'm breaking down how exactly you can find profitable and reliable suppliers for your Amazon business that have fast shipping times, that don't require bulk orders, and that can always ensure you're abiding by Amazon terms of services and policies as well. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where to look for your Amazon business, the right questions to ask to your suppliers for your Amazon business, and ensure you're not working with any suppliers that can potentially kill your Amazon business. So let's get into it. So before we even get into the nitty-gritty, we need to understand exactly why are suppliers so important for an Amazon dropshipping business, and it's pretty simple. Now, generally speaking, when we talk about how the Amazon selling process works and the way that we do it, you have your Amazon storefront, and then you have your supplier, and then you have the customer, right? Now, generally speaking, when you're selling products, it goes step 1, step 2, step 3, and you rinse and repeat. So usually when you're listing a product, someone's going to come to your Amazon store. When someone comes to your Amazon store, you're then going to forward that shipping information over to your supplier. Your supplier is the one that holds the inventory. They're going to be the ones that are going to ship the product directly to the customer's doorstep for you upon your behalf. And then this cycle just simply repeats. The customer goes back to Amazon, purchases products day in and day out. But the goal here with this is the only way that you can be able to complete this whole entire circle is quite literally by having the right suppliers. If you don't have the right suppliers, you do not have an Amazon business. You do not have products to list on your storefront. So therefore, suppliers are literally the first stepping stone to your Amazon business to be able to make sure that you can sell products on the Amazon marketplace, but also you can have the products be delivered to the customers that are actually spending their hard-earned money for the products that they wish to buy. Now, thanks to my kindergarten drawing here, we understand why suppliers are so important, but we also need to understand what are the common mistakes you need to avoid when you're looking into suppliers. So more oftentimes than not, when we talk about the mistakes, the number one thing someone looks for in a supplier is just going to be about price. And this couldn't be further from the number one thing you need to look at, right? Because it's not about getting the cheapest of the cheapest item, right? It's not about only focusing on the things that are a couple of cents or $1 or $2. Generally speaking, that's going to lead you down a rabbit hole that's going to completely disrupt your Amazon business. Now, second to that is going to be just figuring out that they're just lazy and they pick the first supplier that they just find when they're Googling something right there in front of them. Now, again, this is an issue because you're not pre-vetting the supplier. You're not walking through the right steps. You're not looking for the certain things that you need to look for to be able to ensure that you're not going to be running into any specific issues. And the third mistake is that people always assume they all work the same, which couldn't be further from the truth. So these are things specifically that you don't want to be doing when you're looking to source suppliers for your Amazon selling business. Because a consequence of this is if you only focus on a supplier that focuses on the price, what is happening is poor product quality, right? And then you're also going to have high returns. Or let's say, for example, when you only focus on things where you're just being lazy, you only use a first supplier, you can have long shipping. You can also have inauthentic products. And if you think they all work the same, you literally might possibly can get scammed by using the wrong type of suppliers for your Amazon business. I don't say that to scare you. I just say that to make sure you actually do your due diligence at the end of the day. So if you make one of these 3 common mistakes when you're looking to source a new supplier, it's going to lead you down a hole that's going to cause a lot of issues. You know, these are just talking specifically about the exact specific consequences, but a consequence of this is because you're not having good product quality items, you have high return rates, you have long shipping times. That means that your buy box percentage, so the percentage of products you list, actually ends up decreasing, which means you're going to end up making less sales, which means Amazon actually pushes your product that you're listing to fewer and fewer individuals, which means that you're not getting the full exposure that you should be getting. And then to that point, it can also lead to a lot of negative reviews. customers want two things when it comes to the products that they're ordering. They want their products on time, and they want their products in a good condition. They really could care less about, where it comes from, or specifically the packaging that it comes in, so long as it's exactly what they paid for at the end of the day. So if you end up making one of the three common mistakes that a lot of people oftentimes have when sourcing suppliers, you could receive negative reviews. Now, this is just one of the key focus areas that we have inside of my mentorship program, where I will quite literally give you a list of a whole bunch of different pre-vetted suppliers for you to use for your Amazon business. And yes, that means that if you're selling in the United States, I will give you only United States suppliers. If you're selling in Canada, I will only give you Canadian-based suppliers. If you're selling in the United Kingdom, I will only give you United Kingdom, UK-based suppliers. Now, if you don't feel like going through this whole entire process of finding the right types of suppliers inside of my mentorship program, one of the key focus areas for us inside of it is to be able to ensure that we're giving you access to a list of suppliers for you to be able to sift through that are already pre-vetted upon my behalf. So this is a list that has literally taken me 4 years to build, and I'm quite literally giving them to you. So go ahead, if you want to be able to learn more about that suppliers list, click the link in the description down below, book a call, and let's see if we can help you. Now, to be fair, all suppliers are not made the same. And what I mean by that is that there's two types of suppliers for an Amazon dropshipping business. Now, firstly, you're going to have public suppliers, and then you're also going to have private suppliers as well. Now, these are two key differences when it comes to suppliers and the types that you use and when you need to use them, because you can't just automatically jump into using a private supplier from the beginning. You always have to start off with using a public supplier in the beginning and then transitioning into a private supplier, which is what I'll explain a little bit further on inside of this video. So when we try to differentiate one from the other, okay, so a public supplier is a supplier that anyone can use. Okay, public quite literally means a public supplier. Think about a golf course. If a golf course is a public golf course, literally anybody can go ahead and golf on it. Comparatively, if it's a private golf course, then only members can go ahead and golf on that golf course. Now, from that point, that means that they do have relatively steady inventory, means that they're never going to continuously run out of stock of products. They're always going to have the ability to ensure whatever products you're looking to source are always in stock. They're very easy to use, okay? So the friction for you to use a public supplier is basically minimal at the end of the day. And we're gonna walk through a couple of examples here. I'm gonna share my screen with you and walk you through what exactly is an example of a public supplier versus a private supplier. But usually public suppliers are the easiest suppliers for you to use as a beginner. And the public suppliers are what you're gonna use for your first 1 to 4 months of you selling on Amazon. Now, when we talk about a private supplier is a little bit different. Obviously, it's only members, okay? So these are only people that are allowed to resell the products. You have a reseller agreement, you have letter of authorizations, you have a registered business, and these are suppliers that hold few specific products. Okay, so what that means is a lot of public suppliers are going to hold all different major categories. However, private suppliers are different. Private suppliers are going to focus in specializing on only holding products within one product category, or only holding products within one niche category. Now, as you all know, we don't focus on having niche stores for an Amazon dropshipping business. So the goal is always to have multiple different private suppliers that you can be able to work with. Now, when you get to the point of having private suppliers, this is where you have brand eligibility. That means that you will not be gated or ungated from certain brands for you to be able to list. You will have the ability to submit documentation for brands that you wish to list, like Nike, let's say, for example, like Lego or Disney products. Those are brands that continuously have brand restrictions to them unless you're an authorized reseller of that particular brand and you have a letter of authorization. Now, private suppliers are usually worth looking into as of month 4 plus, and it usually takes about 1 to 3 months to find a good type of private supplier that's willing enough to create an agreement with you and ensure that you can actually utilize their inventory to source products on Amazon. So the strategy with this is the first step that you're going to focus on is having public suppliers for the first 4 months of your Amazon business, and then you can transition into private suppliers later on. Now, the reason for this is pretty simple and it's pretty basic, but a lot of people oftentimes miss this. They try to go directly for the private suppliers right away. However, the thing is with private suppliers is they need to know what's in it for them. it's not entirely just about you. It's not entirely just about, oh, you want to sell their products. It's about what can you bring to the table for them. Because at the end of the day, you want to do business with them. They don't entirely care so much whether or not you do business with them. So to give you an example, let's say I have an Amazon store, and for the first 4 months of my Amazon store, I've been selling products that are baby products, kitchen products, tools and home improvement products, and sports and outdoors products. Then I want to look into a private supplier. But when I'm looking to private supplier, I'm only reaching out to private suppliers that have products in the grocery product category. It doesn't make sense because there's no alignment. The thing is, with private suppliers, wholesalers, distributors, manufacturers, they want to ensure that there's a mutual benefit for them. They want to ensure that you've been selling $500,000 worth of product over the last 4 months from these related product categories that they hold products in as well. Then they can see the benefit in that. But if you're just strictly going into a product category for a private supplier that you've never sold products in before, the likelihood of you getting denied to work with that private supplier is pretty high. So I'm not saying that you're only going to focus on private suppliers or you're only going to focus on public suppliers. It's always helpful to have both, meaning continuously have public suppliers as your backup, as your money makers, as your bread and butter, and then you can further dissect a little bit more into private suppliers as time goes on. As you gain more data from your Amazon business, you're able to know what are your top performing product categories, and then you can take those top performing product categories and find private suppliers for those ones there. So as I get into my screen here, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of examples in regards to what's a public supplier versus a private supplier. Now, a public supplier can be considered something like Costco. Okay, so Costco is a wholesale membership supplier. It's kind of a hybrid, I guess you can say, between a public supplier and a private supplier. It's pretty much a public supplier in all honesty. There is a membership aspect to it, but it is available for anybody, generally speaking, to be able to browse through their website. But the thing is with Costco is that they have every single product category that you could potentially imagine. Okay, so you have tires, you have sports, you have all kinds of different gear for back to school as well. And you can see, if you want to go shop, you can actually see all the different types of product categories that they sell products in. So this is a really good demonstration of what a public supplier actually is at the end of the day. Now, comparatively, what a private supplier looks like, what a wholesaler, manufacturer, distributor looks like, is something like this, and this is Petra Industries. Now, Petra Industries is a specific distributor that primarily focuses on electronics to a certain extent, but also diversifies a little bit more into other product categories. But as you can see, right, Costco makes it really easy for you to be able to source on their platform, and they give you the products right away. They show you everything right away. However, for Petra Industries, you can see that it actually doesn't show any products up front right there in center. You actually have to create an agreement with Petra Industries to be able to understand which one of their products can you list, what's the pricing of them, what's the shipping time, and so on and so forth. So certain aspects like this, when it comes to a private supplier, this is where you're going to be required to submit documentation in terms of registered business. You're going to be required to, make your case as to why they should create an agreement with you, comparatively to suppliers like Costco. Let's say, for example, generally speaking, it's very easy for you to use them no matter what it is. Even if you want a Costco membership, it's like $60 for the year. Now, in order for you to be able to find other suppliers outside of what I'm providing for you here, we're going to be using something called the supplier checklist and researching document. Okay, so all of you can have access to this document in the link down below. You can go ahead and click on it right now and you can have access to this document. But it's basically walking you through the specific steps we're going to utilize to be able to ensure that how are we going to find additional suppliers outside of what we want to be able to use, because your goal is to never only focus and only use one supplier. You want to have at least 4 to 8 different suppliers for your Amazon business that you're proactively utilizing as you're sourcing products, because what if one supplier, God forbid, they go down? What if they go bankrupt and then you have 1,000 products in your inventory from that one supplier? Well, then there goes your Amazon business. So ensure that you're diversifying yourself really well when it comes to the suppliers that you're utilizing alongside the products that you're listing. So we talk a little bit in regards to specific things like, what are they used for and all that fun stuff. But the number one most important note is do not by any means necessary use anything that is overseas. The one most important thing for you as an Amazon seller is you need to focus on ensuring the suppliers ship products to customers fast. That means anything from AliExpress, anything from Alibaba, anything from Temu, anything that comes out of your domestic borders is not a product you're going to want to list. So if you live in the US, you only use US based suppliers. If you live in Canada, you only use Canadian based suppliers. If you live in the UK, you're only going to want to utilize UK based suppliers. So make sure. One of the common mistakes a lot of people oftentimes go to is going to these websites like AliExpress, like Alibaba. Why? Because it's cheap, because they're lazy, because they think that that's all that people really care about. That is 100% false. We are sourcing from domestic marketplaces. Yes, as a consequence of that, what that essentially means is we're gonna have a little bit elevated prices, but that doesn't matter, because the prices are justified considering that we can deliver products to consumers on a faster timeline. So as I quickly sift through what this document is about, what the process is, we're going to be talking about the checklist that you're looking for when it comes to the suppliers you want. So first and foremost, like we kind of talked on here, domestic based within the marketplace that you're selling. That's pretty self-explanatory right now at this point. Now, make sure that it offers well-known big brand name products. You're not looking for knockoff products. You're not looking for products that are rather generic. You're looking for big brand reputable names that you know of. Nespresso, Keurig, other things like Bounty, let's say, for example, Dawn dish soap, and so on and so forth, Ninja air fryers. You're going where you know the suppliers has big brand name products from brands that you know or that you recognize yourself as a industry dominator in whatever category that they're in. Then you have to ensure that they have fast handling time and shipping time. Okay, so what this means, handling time is how long it takes for them to actually process and ship the order. The shipping time is the shipping time. How long does it take from the point of when it's shipped to the point where it gets to the consumer, right? Now, the thing is, handling time, you're usually going to want this about 3 to 4 days. Your shipping times at most is going to be nothing more than 14 days. Okay, generally speaking, a lot of suppliers nowadays are going to be shipping within 3 to 5 days if you find the right types of suppliers, but you want to be able to make sure you do your due diligence. Now, you want to make sure, fourthly, that it's a very easy return process. Considering that you're offering 30-day returns to Amazon consumers, you want to make sure that your supplier offers that in turn as well. And truth be told, 99% of suppliers that you're looking at, whether public or private, are going to have a 30-day return window as well. Now, make sure that there's no minimum order quantity. What this means, your minimum order quantity, if there is one, has to be literally one. The reason why you don't want to have a minimum order quantity, no bulk orders, is because we're drop shipping. We're only selling one product unit at a time. So what that essentially means is you don't want to be in a perspective where you go to a supplier and you're required to buy 100 units before it actually sells. That defeats the whole purpose of what we're actually doing here. So to that point, you only want to make sure you can source one unit at a time. You can purchase one product at a time. And then lastly, ensure that they have blind shipping and no invoicing as well. Now, when we talk about the actual research process for these suppliers, what it looks like, I've made it pretty easy for you. So I've basically outlined, you pick 3 to 4 major categories within this list I've provided for you that are available on Amazon, and then you get to sourcing from there. Now, when you get to sourcing, you're going to enter one of these 3 prompts that I provide you with to give you more insight. So just to give you a little bit of example, let's say we talk about sourcing something like beauty and personal care. So if we go on beauty and personal care, all I'm doing is I'm taking this script, I'm going onto Google, I'm inputting the script here, and I'm basically saying, okay, so it was beauty and personal care supplier in country, state, or province, right? So because I'm in Canada right now, Canada, Quebec, let's say, for example, and then I'll go ahead and click search. Right? And now what it's going to auto-populate for me, it's going to auto-populate based on the words, based on the search engine of what I'm searching up right now, all the suppliers that are based in Canada in that specific region that I'm looking for in the product category as well. So we can see there's a bunch here, beautysense.ca, we can see that there's Beauty Supply Outlet, right? We can see that there's Delon Laboratories, private label custom manufacturer. There's a bunch of different types of suppliers out here that I could be able to look into and I can be able to utilize. And once I find them, right, I got to be able to make sure that when I see a supplier that I can actually use, I'm going ahead and getting to them. Now, when I find these suppliers, I just want to make sure that they meet my criteria in terms of what I'm looking for in the actual checklist. And again, I can do this for as many different product categories as I want. I can go kitchen appliance supplier Canada, Quebec, and then I'll go ahead and click search for that and see what it auto-populates for me. And as you go through this, I can see that there's a bunch of them, right? There's a clearanceman.ca. There's other ones such as Costco.ca, which I can be able to use, ElectroQC.ca. So these do seem to be pretty reputable suppliers I can be able to look at, but if ever you see a supplier that you don't actually know, click into it, observe it, see if it's actually something that's viable or if it's something that's actually more so just kind of like a phishing scam by any means necessary. And you're going to want to avoid any suppliers that only take payment methods like PayPal, Western Union Bank, cryptocurrencies, or anything along those natures. And you can even go one step further, right? If I see here that let's say, for example, ElectroQC, like I've never heard of ElectroQC.ca. So what I can then do is if I see a supplier, I can go ElectroQC reviews and see if this is a company that's actually well reviewed. And I can see here, well, this is ElectroC, so I'm not entirely sure what this is. We got ElectroShop. They don't really have anything in terms of reviews on any sort of platform. All of these seem to be a little bit dated or unrelated to the actual ElectroQC that I'm looking for. So in this position, like I wouldn't even bother sourcing from them. I would just simply move on and explore the other options that are available to me. Don't only focus on the first thing that pops on the page, focus on it, explore, but also there's a bunch of different other opportunities for you to be able to look at as well. So that basically wraps it up for today's video, and I promise you guys, finding suppliers is literally the first stepping stone for you having a very profitable Amazon business. Without suppliers, you quite literally don't have any products to list on your storefront. And having the right types of suppliers is what separates the good Amazon sellers from the bad Amazon sellers. The sellers that make, over $2 million in sales in 30 days, like Christian. The Amazon sellers that do $4,500 in sales in their first months, like Erica, let's say, for example, versus the ones that literally don't make any sales whatsoever. Now, like I said, don't only focus on going right towards the private suppliers. Those take time to build. Focus on the public suppliers, and then you can easily transition into having a hybrid between public suppliers and private suppliers as well. It takes time. It's a process, to say the least, but it's well worth the journey at the end of the day if you're willing to persist through a little bit of the ups and downs from using public suppliers. That way you can later on shift into using private suppliers predominantly, and also a portion of that using public suppliers as well. And if you want access to a suppliers list in your domestic marketplace, that's exactly what I help you with inside of my one-on-one mentorship program that I've been running for the last 4 years, that's been able to help over 600 people at this point. And the only reason why these people are successful is because I give them a list of pre-vetted suppliers. If you want access to that suppliers list just like these other 600 people, and no, it's not going to cause oversaturation, because that's a mindset thing more than anything else, go ahead, click the description, the link down below. We're going to be able to pull the curtains behind on what the program is, how it could potentially work for you, and we're going to walk you through why suppliers are most important and how we can be able to provide you with that suppliers list. So remember that your Amazon business is just as strong as what your suppliers are that you're using for it. So make sure you choose wisely and make sure you do your due diligence. I'll see you all in the next video.